Hey everyone, welcome to the 28th episode of Conversations with T. This is your host T, and I'm back with someone whom I've recorded many episodes with in the past. She was very active in the self-development and trauma fields, and I've had very interesting discussions with her that included topics such as social media, self-accountability, fitting in, and 9 to 5 culture. She's now a new mom, and she's been busy with her baby boy over the past few months. She's none other than Miss Keyona Akil. How have you been, Key? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'm so happy to have you back.
I am great. And yes, I am a new mom, so that definitely keeps me busy, but I'm grateful that I have a time where I can talk to you and my husband can watch the baby. So I'm really excited to be on your podcast again because I did not want this year to go by without participating. So I'm glad that we found time and we could do this.
You know, I came to realize that you were my first and last guest for 2022, and yeah, it's been a while since we last collaborated. How's motherhood going?
First of all, that's pretty awesome that I was the first and the last. I was actually reading your podcast titles to my husband yesterday, and I was like, I read a title, I was like, I was on that one, I was on that one, I was on that one. So I realized like I was pretty active with your podcast. It's exciting. But how is motherhood? It's a roller coaster that I don't necessarily want to get off of.
Hmm?
It is so cool how you so the mother focuses on the child and raising the child, but a person who is self-reflective and is working on their own healing and self-awareness, one thing that I learned through like mothering my son for the past 2.5 months is I'm learning a lot about myself, how
Mm,
I advocate, how how I am constantly seeking to make sure that he's okay, how my already existing anxiety has increased, but now due to being a mom and worrying about my child and wanting to make sure that I'm doing things right, and just so many different things I've just been like learning about myself, even on a dean perspective, how I realized like, okay, yeah, I have some resourceful knowledge about how to put a baby to sleep or how to do this, that, and the third. But ultimately, like I have to sometimes make a prayer where I'm like, Ya Allah, this is your servant. I'm trying to put him to sleep. He's fighting me. Can you calm him and ease him into falling asleep? I love it. I'm
oh,
grateful.
oh, Alhamdulillah. Being a mom is honestly it's very challenging. Even though I don't have kids, yeah, I can imagine how much of a struggle it is, as I've seen my older sisters take care of their daughters when they were babies. And
Mhm.
yeah, what were some of the things you've learned so far after little Jabari was born?
I would say the fact that, and this is something that I kind of became privy to even before I became a child, because I mean, I became a parent. See, I have mom brain. I'm postpartum and still have mom brain. Before I became a parent, I realized through helping my best friend with her daughter at the time that there really isn't I usually say a line of demarcation, but there really isn't a moment to pause and then transition into being a mom. Once you become a mother, you're always in the mom role.
Mm,
Um, and that's why I'm grateful that I'm not working a 9 to 5 while being a new mom,
yeah.
because one thing I learned from babysitting my friend's daughter is that I would leave my job, go to her daycare, pick her up, come home, and I wouldn't even have the ability or the time to take my clothes off and change into something comfortable. I instantly had to focus on the needs of this baby until maybe she took a nap. Then I could, focus on some things that I wanted to get done. But like you're always in that mom role. You don't really have a break. So with me being far away from my biological family, I realized that lack of support also can make you feel very like overwhelmed and overstimulated and burdensome at times.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've been adjusting to, knowing that is honestly myself and my husband. He's the one going out in the field, so I'm the one that's full-time mommy, full-time parent. And I have to like roll with that because that's the season that I'm in. When he's a baby this small, all he really cares about and really needs, so to speak, is mom. Dad, of course, is always going to be there playing the supportive role, but it's like in the beginning that baby has a very close-knit relationship with the mother. And then
Mm,
as he gets older, then I will start seeing him start to build more time with my husband and things like that. But that's been a challenge, realizing that I'm always mom. Some days I may have not used the bathroom in 2 hours, or because I'm trying to, focus on him. So I realized how I've also neglected myself. When you talk about motherhood and self-care, I realized how I was already neglecting myself prior to a child, but now having a child and hyper focusing on him, how I put my needs, my self-care on the back burner. And I'm to this day trying to find a balance between making sure that his needs are met, but also making sure that I'm my best self. Because if I'm not my best self, how can I be my best self for him, you know? So that's been a challenge. And that, like I mentioned, being a self-reflective person, it's revealed to me that I didn't just start neglecting myself once I became a mom. These were things that I was already doing prior to becoming a mother. And it's just more evident to me now that I am a mom, like, oh wow, like you really would be around the house all day shabby, because the baby wouldn't take a 2-hour nap instead of just, you know, waking up maybe a few hours when you know you're going to wake up for his first bottle and just taking a shower and getting yourself together and making sure that that's out the way, you know? So I've been trying to find balance and schedule. So just being, you know, a full-time parent most of the time by myself, that's been a challenge. um just, you know, just learning on the, like, it's an on the job training, you know, like, you know, you see other moms, you can look at all this Instagram content and YouTube videos about being a mom, but you really won't know how to be a mother until you have your child, because every child is different. So every day I'm learning how to be a mother. Every day my son is keeping me on my feet. So I'm having new challenges, you know, with him like every day. And so it just shows perseverance. Like, am I going to see it as a challenge and push through, or am I gonna woe is me? So it's like it's a mental thing. So constantly working on my mental health. Like I mentioned, I have anxiety, I lose sleep. Like I didn't have that baby that kept me up all night throughout the night. I kept my own self up, you know, checking on him and stuff like that. So those have been the, oh, and emotionally just not being with my family, raising my son and having to have a virtual relationship with my family. They do come to visit me from time to time, and inshallah they'll be here this coming weekend. But just not having my mom around and my grandmother around to see me raise him more than, you know, what they're able to see now. So that kind of makes me sad. And the cool thing about my son too, before I stop talking, is he looks like me as a baby and he looks like my father, and my father is deceased. So it's not necessarily a challenge, but it's like a healing to my inner child to see, like, wow, my dad's not here to grandfather his grandson, but it's like I'm looking exactly at my dad when I look at my son. So that's been helping me emotionally cope with like the people I love that I've lost, that don't get to see me finally get to this moment of being a wife and being a mom.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. Taking care of one baby is challenging enough, but imagine having twins, triplets, or other children who are still young. I think this is something which many moms would agree on, regardless of whether she works as well or stays home. And speaking of that, there's still a stigma associated with being a stay-at-home mom. I don't think working mothers get a lot of negativity from others if I were to compare and contrast, but I could be
Mhm.
wrong. Why do you think that's the case? What misconceptions do you think people have about stay-at-home moms?
I think they fail to realize the constant to-do list and checklist that stay-at-home mothers have before the child and after the child, that at times does not get done due to being consumed by something else. When you think about being a stay-at-home mom, I wake up, or actually I go to bed at night with an idea of how I want my next day to be, and with information of how, you know, I think day to day, week to week, what patterns am I seeing my son has. For a couple of weeks he was waking up 8 o'clock in the morning, so I knew that, okay, if I wanted to do something, you know, like clean the bathroom or make myself breakfast or take a shower or something like that, I knew that I could get that done before 8 o'clock. Then out of nowhere he started to go to bed at a certain time at night, which led him to waking up for his feeds at certain times. And he was kind of trying to start his day at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that kind of threw me off. So I was realizing that I'm not really able to get certain things done because, one, he doesn't have that predictable schedule of waking up like he did. And also he's having issues with sleeping on his own. We do a lot of contact napping during the day. So if I'm able to put him to sleep, but as soon as I lay him down in his bassinet, he wakes up, that now cuts into time that I needed to wash clothes or wash his bottles. So I think a lot of people assume that a stay-at-home wife or a stay-at-home mom is just literally doing what she wants to do, taking in the income of her husband, and that's it. No, it's really a job, just like how a woman who goes out, works her 9 to 5 and comes home and still nurtures her household. It's a job, and it's a job that is constantly ongoing, and it's very stressful. Because for me, I don't like clutter, and alhamdulillah, I don't keep a dirty house. But the fact that I'm trying to tend to my child, but I know that there's those dishes on that sink, I will delay going to bed just to make sure that that's done and out the way. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that it's just a misconception that we're just lazy. We're twiddling our thumbs, scrolling on Instagram, going out to Starbucks, getting chai lattes, and not really having the responsibility of managing our homes when we do. And I'm already thinking future wise. When my son's old enough to, to roam around the house, and I may have just put his toys away, and he may come back and the room may be a mess, and it's like a constant doing the same task. Like I wash bottles like 2-3 times a day,
Mm.
and that can be a little annoying. But yeah, like I haven't really had conversations with people who try to make it seem like me being a stay-at-home mom is like a worthless thing, or it's not, it doesn't equate to a woman to going out, working a 9 to 5. Most of the people in my corner have been very supportive, and they have understood, because I've explained it actually. I used to work in a hotel, and I think I talked about this on a previous episode of yours. I
Yeah.
used to work in a hotel, and so that's a people-centered job, customer service driven job. So that means when I worked there, I dealt with people complaining, fussing, just being upset, and throwing their grievances at me. So I knew instantly, when I have my son, I don't want to work this job, because there's no way I want to take people slack
Mm.
for 5 to 8 hours in the day. Then I have to go home, don't even have the time to woosah, and then I have to deal with my son, who may have tantrums, maybe screaming, may not want to go to sleep. Like, I think my son deserves a fully attentive mom who doesn't have other stimuli affecting how she shows up for him. And that's why I personally chose to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to give him my undivided attention, because I didn't grow up having my mom's undivided attention. She needed support. And I saw how that interfered with the mother-daughter relationship.
Mm.
Yeah, so like I give all the credit to the stay-at-home moms, especially ones that show up on social media that seem like they got it together. I'm trying to get like them, but I'm also understanding that I'm not gonna be like them, and I have to do what's best for me. But
Mhm.
if anyone comes to me making it seem like my job is easy, child, please. As I'm talking to you, I have a list of things that I have been meaning to do since probably last weekend. That I always say, when my husband comes around and he does it, I'll do it. But then there's another component to that: nurturing my relationship with my husband. I spend all my time with my son Monday through Friday. The weekends when my husband is free, trying to make sure that I utilize my free time when he's with him, but also spending time in nurturing my relationship and marriage with him. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot that a woman juggles. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm also curious about one thing. Do you think stay-at-home moms receive more criticism, such negativity from other women or men? That's
I
that's
honestly, I've seen it more from women. Like, when I'm
mm,
on social media specifically, and I'm scrolling and looking at the comments, it's the women that
mm,
are bashing the other women. I don't really see too much about men talking about women that stay at home. And honestly, I don't think men would, because I feel like there's an understanding between the man and the woman on, okay, this is our dynamic. You're going to stay at home, and I'm going to go out and be the breadwinner. But I feel like, because of the misconceptions of being a stay-at-home mom, because of the fact that there may be women who want to be that and are not that they evoke their frustration and their jealousy, and so they come off very like negative. So yeah, so definitely women attacking other women. And I don't understand why, because, well, I kind of do understand why. I think, I would say, from a Western standpoint, since I'm from the US,
mhm,
I think what really overshadows and makes it just a hot mess is people's perceptions and belief and platform when it comes to feminism.
mm,
I think that plays a part. Traditionalism, feminism, I can do what all the men can do. I think all of that, this discourse, kind of gets into people's opinions and their presumptions of other people who are stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home wives, whatever. And I think that's where the negativity comes into play. Like, oh, I'm a feminist, I believe this, so you can work and be a stay-at-home. But what if the person doesn't want to? So I think that's what the issue comes into play with women attacking other women. Is the whole feminism thing, versus traditionalism and gender roles and all that type of stuff.
That's honestly such a shame. And yeah, what advice would you give mothers to be or women who are single but are thinking of having children one day?
I would say to really think about your core values.
Hmm.
And for me, when I used to work at the hotel, one thing I told the hiring manager that my core values is faith, family, work. When my faith is in order, then I can show up better for my family. When myself and my family is in order, I can show up as my best self at my job.
Hmm.
Knowing that I'm going into motherhood, something I've never done before, looking at my own experience as a child with my parents and what I lacked, and knowing that I want better for my son, I rearrange or actually kind of like remove actually one of my core values so that I can really show up as the best mom I could possibly be. So I would tell women who have children currently or are aspiring to have children, really assess your values. Think about the type of parent that you want to be and what is going to prevent you from doing that, what's going to aid you in doing that. And if you are in a relationship with someone, have the conversation about how you two want to establish that family dynamic. You always have time to adjust and change, but I say give yourself an opportunity to show up fully instead of assuming that you have to juggle so many things that you don't have to juggle. You know, I was asking my husband yesterday, experiencing what we are experiencing now, would he have expected me to go back to work after 6 weeks postpartum? And he was like, no, I would, if I would have came to him and said, hey, I think I want to go back to work, he said he probably would have said, hey, have you really considered, you know, staying home longer, you know, with Jabari? So even knowing that my husband supports me in staying home, and honestly, we talked about that in premarital counseling. I expressed to him, I want to be home with the child, maybe up until he goes to primary school, because it's crucial for me to be his first educator
Hmm.
instead of just throwing him onto the responsibility of a daycare. And the world is, you know, not saying it's any crazier than it was yesterday, but you have to be mindful of who you allow to have access to your child. People are molesting and killing children in daycares, and it's like, I don't want to be so caught up in the rat race of consuming money that I honestly don't have to consume right now. I'm not in dire need or we need two income households. All praise be to Allah. So let me acknowledge that privilege and let me stay home with my child. So yeah, women out there, really think about what you want and how and what it takes to get that, and have conversation with your partner and just see where it leads.
I totally agree. And thank you so much, Key. I had a wonderful conversation with you today. And I hope the rest of your day goes well. Thank you.
I want to say one thing to you. I really appreciate the topics that you choose for your podcast because they are like real life thoughts and issues that people are facing. And I think you bring a humaneness to your podcast, because every episode has a narrative that someone can connect to. And granted, I'm a new mom. There are a lot of things I'm learning about motherhood. There's a lot of information that I know about motherhood that I can contribute to this conversation, that I haven't even experienced yet. But I really appreciate you really considering like what the person that's on your podcast is going through and what can they share with the listeners. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to grant success to your podcast because of the real and rawness that you bring to it and the people that you invite to your space. So thank you once again for adding me to that list of people on your roster.
Thank you, Key. Thank you so much. Your kind words really mean a lot to me. And I do hope that we can collab more in the future, inshallah. And yeah, thank you again for this lovely conversation. I hope the rest of your day goes well. Thank you and take care. Assalamu alaikum.
You too. Wa alaikum assalam.